What happened at Maralinga? After World War II ended, Britain decided to build an atomic weapon, and for such a high weaponry and technology, a massive test site is required. Because US government denied the use of their facilities, British government then contacted Australia if they could use the Montebello Islands, which is located in the north of Western Australia, as a test field, and permission was granted. Then in 1953, British donated 2 nuclear bombs at Emu Field, and in the mid-50s, British decided to settle a permanent test site in Australia, and Maralinga was chosen to be, and was named Section 400. Maralinga is a remote area located in South Australia and is home to Jaradja people, who have lived there for decades and decades. 7 nuclear weapons were operated in Maralinga site. The explosions were so big they described it as a buffalo. It is believed that the force of buffalo was the same force of explosion that took place in Hiroshima, Japan in World War II. As to why Maralinga was chosen to be the perfect location for the test, this is because of its remoteness. What happened to indigenous people? Where were they moved? With their innocence and very little attention was given to the Pitjantjatjara, Jaradja and Kokara people, they were soon forced to leave their traditional land, and some were moved to Yalata. Forcing Aboriginals to leave their home or land is just like moving them away from their traditions and their lifestyles. Maralinga test site was also in fact a traditional Aboriginal route. The damage of removing the people from their land was described as radiological, psychosocial, and cultural damage. During the test, the movement of Aboriginals away from the land still occurred, and no doubt that they have been fully exposed to the radiation. Even though a patrol was assigned to look out and ensure that all indigenous were removed from the land to Mission Station, where they believe it is a safe place at the time. For many Aboriginals that still want to connect with the land and follow their traditions continue to walk the Western Desert. This had left them to sleep on the bomb craters and exposed to the radiation, causing them to get sick. How did the nuclear test affect the Aboriginals people? It is estimated that about 1,200 Aboriginals people were exposed to the radiation during the test. In 1967, the clean-up began to take place at Maralinga test by the UK Ministry of Defence, or else known as Operation Brumby. The clean-up during this year was to alter plutonium from the highly affected areas by burying it under the pit and overlaid with concrete. As for fragments from the radioactive in minor trials had been either covered up with the topsoil or mulched into the earth soil. It is believed that this process will help reduce the inhalation and ingestion. U.S. scientist Dale Timpson described the cleanup as what was done at Maralinga was nasty solution that wouldn't be adopted on whitefellas land. Because the first cleanup was not up to the safety standard, the government had called for another cleanup and was conducted under the agreement with the International Atomic Energy Agency and International Commission on Radiological Protection. In the year of 2000, the second cleanup was successful and met the safety standard. However, though, not all part of the land was notified as clear for rehabilitation, yet approximately 120 square kilometers are safe for access, but not for permanent settlement, and 3,200 square kilometers is safe for unrestricted access. The project had cost the government $108 million. In 2009, when some part of Maralinga has reported clear and safe, the Australian government signed the paper and given the land back to the rightful and traditional owner. What are some of the health effects that both Aboriginals and Maralinga personnel encountered at the time? Nuclear testing carried out by British government had massively and severely affected the health and the lives of many Aboriginal people who lived around the areas. Many were recorded deaths due to the exposure of the radiation, as for many of the victims that still alive today had to live with consequences and suffer from various of health effects, both serious and deadly. According to the TV program Behind the News, when the reporter interviews Yemi Lester, who was only 10 years old when he was exposed to the radiation, himself suffered from the blast, causing him to lose his sight. He told the reporter some of the health effects that the people of Maralinga encountered at the time. We all got sick, diarrhea, vomiting, skin rash, and sore eyes. I couldn't open my eyes, it was that sore. Other health issues include blood disease, cancer, lung problem, liver problem, kidney problem, and for some that cannot bear the pain and the suffer, death was the outcome. Referring to the survey conducted by British Nuclear Veterans Association in 1999, the results showed that 30% men who had worked in the site died at the age of 50s, and children who their fathers was Maralinga veterans was reported having reproductive difficulties. Australian military personnel that was involved during the test, which believed to be 8,000 men, said there was no protective clothing or gear for them to wear to protect themselves from the radiation or smoke from the explosions at all. Short pants, short-sleeved shirt, small cap, and a boot was given to them. Duties for some of these men was to take a sample of the smoke from the air on a plane, and for some stayed to take a sample
from the ground.